Okay, let's make a start. Well, good afternoon, everybody. You can see that we've got a very polite audience. There's quite a bit of chat. Everybody saying good afternoon, which is very friendly. On what I think is quite a sunny day today. We had around 150 people register for this short webinar about how to make governance and compliance simpler. I think it's a mixture of different people from advice agencies, funders, and other interested parties. Now, the main speaker today is my colleague and friend, Matt Howgate, who is one of the country's most prominent and experienced consultants assisting law centres, advice agencies, and law firms. He's also advised lots of funders, representative bodies, and politicians related to access to justice. I started DG Legal way back in the year 2000, and that company specialises in helping lawyers and law firms. And a few years later, started Leicester LLP, which advises various private funders of not-for-profit legal services. Over the last 20 years or so, Matt and I have been to hundreds of not-for-profit advice agencies, and we see similar issues across the advice sector. We thought that many of the issues that we come across could be resolved by designing and implementing easy to follow governance and compliance software. And I'm very pleased to say that we received a grant from the Legal Education Foundation to build the software, and it is free for any advice agency for a period of 12 months, sufficient to learn what we consider to be best practice. Now, we think that advice agencies that use the software may have an advantage over other advice agencies when submitting applications for grant funding. We also think that in the future, funders may prefer to prioritise agencies that can demonstrate strong governance arrangements, and the software is one means of achieving this. So once again, good afternoon. Please feel free to ask questions, and we shall monitor the Q&A and the webinar chat. I shall now hand over to Matt that will speak about this and show you around some of the features of the software. Thank you.
Thanks, David, and thanks for the introduction. So before I launch into sharing my screen and showing you the software itself, probably a few things that are worth mentioning. Firstly, it is UK GDPR compliant. It's online and it's secure, so you don't need to worry about those things. The other advantage of it, I mean, apart from the fact that it's been built after years and years and years of David and I and other consultants in our team working with organisations and just trying to understand the difficulties they find in terms of perhaps consolidating management records, pulling together things that they need to find in relation to governance, doing some of the processes that they need to keep on top of things on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis. So what we've done is we've created a system which hopefully creates a framework around all of that. Now, I would imagine when I show you the system, you will look at it and think, oh, we've got a lot of that already. And you almost certainly will have a lot of it. The point of the Compliance Champion is it brings it all into one place, and it makes it more structured and more available when needed. And also, for some of the tools that we put in there, it will prompt you to keep things up to date as and when you need to do it. In terms of our keeping it up to date, we make sure that at all times it's up to date with the most relevant regulatory requirements, with the requirements from, say, quality standards like Lexel and the Specialist Quality Mark, and with, say, legal aid requirements where that's relevant to the parts of it. And so we'll make sure that that's constantly kept up to date. You can have multi-user access in your organisation, and you can limit what individual users can see from the system. So you might have full access yourself as a manager, but you might want, say, supervisors or team leaders or others to have more limited access, and that's entirely possible as well. And the last thing is that if you are an organisation that's audited by an external auditor, say you've got Lexel or the Specialist Quality Mark, then you can get a login to give to your auditor and your auditor can look at all of those documents as well. So it's very adaptable. And the other thing is we do make changes as we get feedback. So the system is evolving. Right, let me share the screen and I'll run you through the system as it currently is. And as I say, it does evolve. So this is what Compliance Champion looks like. It is a website. You have a secure login. You will log into the website and hopefully it's relatively intuitive in terms of what you see. Now, of course, intuitive to one person is complicated to another, but hopefully if I show you through some of it, you'll follow what we've done to try to make life easier in terms of managing records and managing processes. So I'll worry about the calendar and the monthly checklist at the end, but I'll start with central records, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll have a look at them. So if I click on the central records drop down, what you can see is that there are a number of central records that you either have to keep if you're, for instance, a legal organisation doing legal aid work, employing solicitors, or that you might want to keep in other situations. So let's look down here. I'll just pick a couple to run through. Let's go to risk management. Risk management is a critical issue for all organisations. It's a matter your boards should be on top of on a regular basis. But it's also an area where you can find confusion and a bit of perhaps inconsistency about the way it's approached. So what we've done with risk management is we've created a risk register template, which allows you to record all of the risks associated with your organisation. So what you do is you click into it and it allows you to complete all of the type of risks that you've got. So we can pick a risk, let's say it's a compliance risk. We can then identify it, we can list the consequences, we can think about the impact, we can think about the likelihood, we can work out what the overall risk is, we can talk about what we've done to mitigate it. Now, many of you will have something like this. It's probably a spreadsheet, and spreadsheets are fine, but the difficulty is that they're probably not always consistently completed, not saved in the same place, not always as accessible as they could be. Whereas this creates a structure. If at some point in future, best practice on risk management were to change, then we'd incorporate that into the templates. You would then save the record. Of course, I can't save it because I haven't completed it. And what would happen is it would start to create your risk register. And you'd be able to go through the risk register and have a look at what all of your risks are. And again, you could do that on a regular basis with your trustees just to make sure that things haven't changed. And if they had, you can very easily edit, delete any one of those entries or add new entries if you needed to, if a new risk was emerging. Let's go back to the central records and have a look at something else, complaints. Now, hopefully we don't get complaints, but let's be realistic, sometimes we will. So we need a complaints register. Again, much as we did with risk management, we've created a template complaints register. This is just an example, but what you can see is all of the critical information that you need in relation to complaints is available on the system here. If we wanted to add a new one, again, we click new, and as you can see, what we've got here is details of all of the issues pertinent to the complaint. On the right-hand side, you'll see a help box. And what we've done here is clicked on key things that people might ask. And we've put in just a little bit of guidance about what you might need to put in each of those sections. The other thing we've done in terms of complaints is we've created space for you to upload complaints documents. So if you wanted, for instance, to upload a copy of the complaint letter, upload a copy of any internal investigation documents, and upload a copy of the final letter that you send to the complainant, then you can do that. And that means not only is the record of the complaint in the caddy, but also all of the documents, in the champion, but all of the documents related to the complaint. So should you need to look at them again in future, should you need one of your trustees to log on and look at them, should you want multiple staff to have access to this so they could deal with complaints issues, you can do that. It's all about ease, but about structure, and that structure is built around best practice. Now, this is maybe less interesting for all of you, but for some of you that are doing, say, legal aid work, or where you've got the specialist quality mark or Excel, you need to have a list of approved suppliers, and periodically you need to review whether or not individuals should stay on that list. So again, we've created an approved suppliers register. Much as the previous documents I've shown you, we have a template which you can click on, and it gives you an opportunity to put in all of the information you need in relation to an approved supplier. And when we're talking about approved suppliers, we're generally thinking about people like barristers, experts, interpreters, medical experts, or otherwise. You can put all of that information in, and as you get further down the page, you can approve them or not approve them, and you can give details of why an individual was approved or not approved as one of your approved suppliers or not approved suppliers. Again, you can go in and you can take away somebody's approval if, for instance, they start delivering work of a poorer quality than you might otherwise like. Again, as with the complaints, you can also upload accompanying documentation. So if you wanted, for instance, to upload CVs, if you wanted to upload terms of business, if you wanted to upload any of the documents associated with your approved suppliers, you can just upload them and add them into here, and they will then be listed and available to view or download as necessary, which is really useful. I can say now, as somebody who occasionally has to take on interim management roles, one of the biggest challenges as an interim manager, forget that, one of the biggest challenges as a new manager in any organisation is trying to unravel the chaotic filing of the previous manager. And that often means that you're looking for documents which you absolutely need to see, but you can't find them. So what we've done here is created a space for you to upload as many of the critical management and governance documents as you need to. They will therefore always be available both to anybody that takes over after the current manager leaves, but also to other staff that might need to see them. And I'll come back to some of this as we go through the demonstration. Let's have a look at compliance. Compliance, again, is another heading, but similar structure under there. And we've just put in documents there which are more related specifically to compliance issues. Now, there's one that will be relevant for all of you, because I'm sure you will all be handling personal data, and that's the data protection audit and processing record. Now, of course, under UK GDPR, we all need to have a record of the data we process. And so what we've done here is created a template for you to do exactly that. You go into it and you can pick the type of data. So let's say it's data about an inquirer. Other is only if you need it. We look at the type of data. So it could be biographical data or case data. We then record how we obtain it. So it could be at a drop-in or through an advice line or by somebody dropping in at reception or all of those. And then you can think about why you process it. So it could be any one of these things, let's say dealing with inquiries. The point is, all of the information you need to go through the process of reviewing all of the ways you process data are available in this particular template. And certainly for those of you that are audited, this will be necessary. If something were to go wrong with your data compliance, if you had a data loss, a data breach, or a hacking incident, then you would certainly be expected by the Information Commissioner's Office to have gone through this process for all of the types of data you process. Again, I'm going to close this because we don't want to go into it in full detail. Another one of the things on here, again, you know, important, particularly now that we've got more people working from home, is personally owned devices that people are using for work purposes. Again, this just creates a space for you to record the details of the device for UK GDPR compliance purposes. The point here is this is about making your life easier. This is about thinking about all of the records that you might need, consolidating them into a place where you can easily access all of them, and then giving them structure so that you know exactly what you should be recording. And in giving them structure, reducing the risk that things are omitted or missed. Let's have a look at governance and resources. Again, this is one of those drop downs where what we're really talking about here are things that you might want to store somewhere because you might need them for audit purposes or for review purposes. So we've created lots of space here for you to save documents, upload documents that you might need to come back to at some point in the future. Obvious one is business plans, business continuity plans, organisational charts. These are all things which a specialist quality mark or Excel auditor might be looking at on any audit, so they're all there. But we've also put in things like the business continuity plan testing and results register. So if you have a business continuity plan, and you probably should, regardless of the nature of the organisation, you should test it, certainly annually, maybe more regularly than that. And this, again, in the way that we did with the other ones, allows you to keep a record of the test, what happened, when it happened, what the outcome was, and whether there are any lessons that you need to learn and things that you need to change. Okay, mindful of time, I'm not going to go into file reviews in any particular depth because they really only apply to organisations either doing legal aid where they have to do file reviews or where they have file reviews as part of their process. But what that does is it, one, contains templates to do the file reviews, and two, allows you to upload file reviews that you do on your own templates. Again, it's about putting them all in a single place that you can see and manage. Annual reviews, for those of you that do have quality standards, you'll recognise that almost all of them require you to do annual reviews of certain things. So what we've done is we've put the annual reviews in a single place. Let me pick one, complaints. Now, even if you didn't have an obligation under a quality standard to do an annual review of complaints, it would be a very sensible thing to do, because if you looked at all of the complaints you've had across a year, and hopefully there are none or very few, what you'll be able to do is pick up trends. You'd be able to pick up development needs. You might be able to pick up systemic failures or structural problems. So if we have a look, what you do is go through the process, and you can, having looked at your complaints register for the same period, register the annual review or the outcome of the annual review of complaints. Again, let me close that. Another one that's probably worth it for, well, certainly for those of the organisations represented here that have the Lexel quality standard where you have to do an annual review of risk, it almost always catches organisations out. We've put the template here as well, so you can just run through all of the things that you need in terms of the annual review of risk. Okay, let me just close this one out. Organisations and people management are documents which are, again, areas for you to upload stuff. Some of them are around the way you process or record personnel files. Certainly for some of our users, they also have separate HR systems. And if they do, I would fully expect them to record all of their HR records on that system and not here. But if you don't have one, this creates a great space for you to record all of the information about your staff, whether that's by upload or whether it's through the fact that we've put forms on there in the way that I've already demonstrated. There's also places to record training. And what we've also done in this section is we've created a place for you to record things like board agendas. You can upload your board agendas, constitutional documents, membership registers, your directors register or your trustees register. And again, with those, we've created forms. So if you need to create a register of all of your trustees or all of your organisational members, you can do exactly that. The last thing we've done here is, sorry, I'm in the wrong bit, is we've created some space for you to put things like copies of grant applications, grant documents, and grant awards. It's a typo there, forgive us, award letters. And that's because, again, from our experience of management and dealing with organisations in crisis, often trying to find all of the letters and correspondence associated with current funding can be quite challenging, whereas this creates a single space for all of that to be uploaded. So I said at the beginning, I'm going to go back and start with the monthly checklist and calendar. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention webinars and courses. DG Legal offer a number of webinars on an ongoing basis across the year. Generally speaking, we'll put a note of the next one on the homepage of the Champion. Now, of course, many of them are focused on private practice, but a number of them are very relevant to specialist lawyers and caseworkers across the non-profit sector. So have a look. And what we also do is we try to make some of them available on the Compliance Champion by the areas of law that they cover. So you can go into that and have a look at what courses have either happened or are happening. So it gives you clear access to those resources. Okay, now let me talk a bit more about the perhaps more powerful things about this tool. The monthly checklists. There are lots of things that you should, as a manager of an organisation, be thinking about on a regular basis. Trouble is, we're all too busy. Bluntly, there's far more important stuff going on around us. The next crisis is happening, and that stops us thinking about the things we should do. So what we've done is we've created some checklists which are intended to act as aid memoir. And those of my clients that use this find this incredibly helpful. So once a month, you go into the monthly checklist, and we've created management and compliance here, but we are thinking about maybe merging them. We're also looking at these on a constant basis to add new things if we need to. But if I add a new one, and let's say I'm adding it for August 23 by pressing current, you can go back and put in a different date if you needed to. It asks you things that you should have thought about in relation to stuff that might have happened in the last month. And the most obvious answer is the one that is automatically completed. So have any new staff members joined in the last month? No, that's fine. If it's yes, then you go down with the next questions. Has every staff member been issued with a contract of employment and job description? Well, they should have been. So you would expect it to be yes. If you say no, it drops down and asks you what you're going to do about it. Because if you've got a staff member that started, they should probably have had a job description and a contract of employment. Have they had a confidentiality agreement? Again, you may not use that. You may do. It might be part of the contract. Let's say it's not applicable. Has every new staff member received no, again, think about what of it. To the end of that one and click on the next one, it talks through risk assessment if you're an Excel holder, because you need to do certain things in relation to risk. Outsourcing. If you've done new outsourcing, have you made appropriate records of it? Are there any issues which might cause a problem, like notifications of claims? Are you confident that you're financially stable? All of this is really asking you questions which, if you want to answer them accurately, you might need to go away and ask some other questions of other people in your organisation, or you might need to have a look at documents. So have you reviewed your cash flow forecast? Well, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Maybe it's not the month in which you would do that. But if you should have done and you haven't, then that gives you a prompt to go away and do it. So the checklists are really powerful tools, because what they do is they help you on a monthly basis to think through the things you should be doing or checking, where you should have done it and the answer is no. It makes you think about what you should do about them. Now, the last tool that we've embedded here is a calendar, and the calendar again is really important. When you set yourself up on it, what you would do is add various dates on the calendar that are critical. So let me put one in here. Annual review of policies and procedures, department, all. It's going to happen on, let's say, the 31st of January. It repeats every year. I'm going to make it my job to do. And I'm going to say that. Now, what that means is I immediately get a notification it's been assigned to me, but then each year on the morning of the day on which it's supposed to happen, I get an email reminder that it's the day I have to look at the annual review of policies. And I can do that. So let's say I've got somebody who I need to do file reviews on a monthly basis. I can put in monthly reminders and it will automatically send them emails every month to remind them to do file reviews. If I've got somebody that perhaps updates a particular policy that they need to do periodically, I can put a reminder in here. I can put in key dates associated with the management and governance of the organisation. I can allocate them to the users that we've put on there, and I can make sure they get reminder emails. And that is one of the really powerful tools that we've embedded into the system. At which point, I think I've shown you as much as I can. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and go back to the main thing just to see if anybody asks any questions. So, okay, picking up, Kate, your question in the chat. Firstly, any of the records, or certainly most of the records that you keep in the Champion can be downloaded. So if you need them, say, to send off to an auditor or to deal with in a different way, you can download them. Most will be downloaded either as PDFs, if that's how they were uploaded, or as Excel spreadsheets. The other thing, of course, for some of those tables, like the complaints records, say you wanted to move on to this, but you've already got an Excel spreadsheet, which is your complaints record. Providing we match the fields, that might need a little bit of manipulation, you can upload your current complaints records into this system. Or what you could do is upload the Excel spreadsheet into the documents section and then just start all new complaints afresh. Let me just read the question. So there isn't a way that it would save periodic versions from your existing system, because the system is designed for you to put those records of, say, trustee or director lists on the caddy. So what you'd need to do is periodically update it. So again, what you could do is create an update. How is it to upload client data from a case management system? We wouldn't expect you to upload client data from a case management system because it's not designed for client case management purposes. This is very much a management tool. Now, what you might have is maybe some letters saved as Word documents on your case management system associated, for instance, with, I don't know, complaints or undertakings or client satisfaction. Those you would need to effectively download from your case management system and upload into this. So there would be a change in the way that you work it. Okay, is the software open source or license-based? It's license-based. The license is owned by Leicester and DG Legal. And as David said, it's free to all non-profit organisations in the first year who want to try to use it and have a play and see if it will work for them. I think that picks up the questions that were in the chat. I'm also conscious that we've reached the 1:30 time for ending this session. So, David, can I pass back over to you?
Yeah, sure. The only thing I wanted to add is that if you do want to have a free license for your organisation, please send us an email. We will give you that email address tomorrow. But if you want to take it down now, it is mail@Leicester LLP. Leicester is spelled LES for sugar, TER. LLP.co.uk. So mail@LeicesterLLP.co.uk. And so we will send you an email to remind you of that email address. So just remains for me to say thank you very much for spending your time with us this afternoon. I hope it's been useful and wish you the very best of luck in the future. Take care. Bye for now.